Let me welcome the press and the public as we reconvene. We are at the point of taking presentations from the public. I want to start by taking the presentation from the People's Party for Democracy and Development.
I just need a few seconds, Chair. I just walked through the door, so I'm just starting it. I'm just turning my computer on and stuff.
Those who are presenting, I would wish for you to have your presentations ready so that when you're called upon to present, you're able to present. We, last week when we met, agreed to adjourn until today so that people can prepare. We gave absolute time for people to be able to get their submissions in and prepare the presentations. We cannot come to the committee this morning now and be delayed with people who have not started to get their presentations together. So I'm urging everybody that's presenting to make sure that they're ready to present when called.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members of the Joint Select Committee. I'm happy that we started early today. And we started an hour and 30 minutes last time late, so I was thinking that we would have the same experience today, but I'm so happy that we are on time. Thank you so much, sir.
Can you state your name, please?
My name is Paul Gibson, a member of the People's Party for Democracy and Development. And you would be aware that we would have made a written submission on the 19th of September to you prior to, with other issues being covered regarding this bill. The People's Party for Democracy and Development, which we call the PDP, is pleased to submit the following considerations of the Joint Parliamentary Select Committee on the Medical Cannabis Industry Bill 2019. The People's Party for Democracy and Development applauds the government for making the bill the subject of wider public discussion and consultation. It is our view that the bill can be better drafted after discussions occur both in the public and the parliamentary space based on information, knowledgeable expertise, and the opinions of various community groups, professional bodies, experts, practitioners, religious communities, and interest groups. We are here to address the questions set out by this committee regarding medical cannabis industry bill. First of all, the intent of the medical cannabis industry bill. The bill is a medical cannabis bill. Medical cannabis is medical cannabis. The first challenge we have as the People's Party for Democracy and Development is that we are attempting to deceive and misdirect our well over 6,000 men and women of the Rastafarian community into believing that this bill that was to be passed a couple of weeks ago.
The we you're referencing is People Party, or the we who can you give me clarity? You
yes,
said
we believe that the bill is a bit misleading in its attempt to communicate with the members of the Rastafarian community. As we heard, Rasimba did such an excellent presentation when he came, but we became aware of the fact that that was a very sudden call to this committee, as they were really not considered in the crafting of the bill from the beginning. And we say this because we realize that their contribution, their thoughts, their feelings are expressed nowhere in the bill. And this, we believe that the religious interests of the Rastafarian community really was never considered in the crafting of the medical cannabis bill, as there's nowhere where that is represented. Absolutely nowhere in the bill. And this bill, which was about to be voted on in the Parliament, nowhere are my brethren and sistering considered in the creation of the document. They were not treated with the dignity and respect that they deserved. And I have the bill right here. We can go through from line to line and you realize that there is nowhere that they are mentioned or considered.
Could you please give us an example, Mr. Gibson?
There's nothing, as I said.
Please give us an example, Mr. Gibson.
I shall. I shall.
Thank you.
There is no example.
Is there any example of where the Christian community is reflected? Or the Muslim community?
What I can
It is
say,
a medicinal cannabis bill and does not ever make any effort to deal with faith-based issues.
I beg to differ, AG. If we had taken the approach and taken the time that, for example, St. Vincent had taken, where they sat and met with the communities and looked at various bills, where one was for medical cannabis, one was for religious use, one was for et cetera, then you will see that there are a number of bills, if you consider the Vincentian experience, that you would see that consideration was given for the religious use of cannabis.
Mr.
And
Gibson,
we believe that
if I can ask a question, I think you've just made the comment that the experience of St. Vincent shows that they have bifurcated their approach to cannabis. Medicinal on the one hand with a piece of legislation, recreational on another, and a third one, sacramental. I accept what you say. I don't know if it's true or not.
well, you shouldn't accept it if you don't believe it, sir.
But if you are correct, then are you suggesting that in this medicinal cannabis bill that we're discussing today, we should have done what St. Vincent did? Or do you not see that medicinal cannabis is a specific area that we are approaching?
I'm
not sure what the criticism is of the medicinal cannabis bill. If you're saying that we should go further, I could understand that. But you began by saying that we have misled the Rastafarian community. From my recollection, and the minister can correct me, I believe that there were some discussions with the Rastafarian community on this matter.
We indeed have had discussions with the Rastafarian community, and when they present today, they will clarify that as well. But if you have a medicinal cannabis bill, then any issues to deal with recreational or decriminalization like St. Vincent did will be dealt in separate bills. And that is what they did.
I'm not talking about recreational marijuana, Chair.
But even for use as sacrament, they had to use a separate bill. And we are focusing on medicinal cannabis, and we have not yet brought a bill to deal with sacrament, decriminalization, or recreational use. And I have said that over and over. So to seek to mislead the public, basically by trying to suggest that it could be incorporated in the bill, should really, in good parliamentary practice, not be done.
Chair, I hear what you're saying. That's not my intent, to mislead the public. I am stating, however, that the current medical cannabis bill is a medical cannabis bill. And I want to reiterate the fact that the Rastafarian community, if we're talking about giving them land for growing and so on, and I'm saying that they were not considered and are not considered in the bill. Even from a financial standpoint of having a greenhouse to build the thing. But anyway, I'll move on because I think the point is made that you did not treat them with the dignity and respect that should have been considered from the crafting of the bill from the beginning, and are getting their input after the fact. From an economic standpoint, the People's Party for Democracy and Development believes that to date, despite calls from economists, financial luminaries, accountants, Barbadians have not been given the numbers, the hardcore numbers, in respect to the true value of the medical cannabis industry. The Barbadian people are saying everywhere we go that the bill does not speak to how the products will be allowed, will allow proceeds and earnings to stay in Barbados. And this begs the question from the People's Party for Democracy. How do we benefit from the medical cannabis industry? In your presentation, I'm sad to say, Mr. Minister, it was very unclear, to say the least. How are we primary producers or end users of the product? Again, very nebulous. How much land in Barbados will be utilized for, medical cannabis? We know about 300 acres are used for Sea Island cotton and 1,800 approximately acres are used for sugar. And we have 28,000 acres of arable land across this country. And we are unaware as to the quantum of land that will be used for the use of this consumption of this product. The other question, how many jobs do we anticipate will be created, and what categories of jobs? Would there be a movement away from the traditional farming, labor supplies, where people grow yams and potatoes and so on? Because these are all things to be considered in crafting a bill. We have to take it to its longest, furthest logical end. And how much will the medical cannabis industry contribute to the GDP of Barbados? No one has told us what contribution this will make to the GDP of Barbados. How do we as a country retain foreign exchange earnings for this industry? And these are questions that a lot of Barbadians are asking. No one has been given the answers. We know that there have been meetings across this country, but the Barbadian public needs to know this, and somebody needs to come to us with those figures. The PDP believes that the country will lose more than we gain from the industry. We may retard the country's progress regarding the social decline if the necessary controls are not enshrined in the bill and the regulations. We must guard against going back to the treatment and the negative experiences associated with the plantocracy in the marijuana industry. Will sugar now be abandoned? As we know, make no money from actual sugar, but plantations are paid to plant canes. They're given duty-free concessions and they're given subventions. Are we going to do a do-over of the old colonial past under the new medical cannabis bill? These are questions that are real to the People's Party and to the people of Barbados. The world is fickle. How long will it take, or how long will it last before the new deal is cut with another country, possibly cutting Barbados out of the equation? Have these matters and considerations been made if you're going to make such a large investment? Approximately 70 cents of every tourism dollar leaves the country for foreign shores. We must have in this bill elements to ensure that the earnings and proceeds from the medical cannabis industry stay in Barbados for an identifiable, sustained and specific time frame, such that it would infuse our economy with foreign exchange, whereby the economic multiplier effect can at least be felt from this industry.
Just a query. It is documented that the Rastafarian community did say that this bill is designed to cut them out. Is your presentation doing exactly that by stating that huge foreign investment is required? Because you're going against what they're asking for. I just want clarity.
I can address that in my at the end of the presentation, if you don't mind, sir. Thanks, sir. Our economists should have a significant role in unpacking the aspects of the bill to ensure that people once and for all earn from this industry. These industries traditionally were based and steeped in the old traditional colonial system, which parasitically extracted from our Barbadian people, but never supported the practice of sharing the wealth widely and across generations of lower and middle class Barbadians. It is our stand that the small farmers, though being strung along, will experience palpable disappointment if this bill is not structured correctly. If this bill is not structured correctly. No one is saying that or telling the smaller farmers on the tier 1 or tier 4 level that greenhouse conditions are required. You're not having that discussion with them. No one is speaking to the issue of cross-pollination that can possibly occur if from flowering marijuana plants, if they are grown in the open skies. The type of weed and cannabis and marijuana consumed by the Rastafari community does not meet the Canadian medical cannabis standards. We know that, as what they grow is different. As these will be the only seeds to be issued by the authority, there are no regulations at this stage to speak to this matter. And we, the People's Party for Democracy and Development, are already seeing a demonstration of a concern that we've had for a long time. And the bill has not even passed. And we are seeing that we are having challenges with control. We are having challenges in Barbados with control, and the bill has not even passed. As the Rastafarian community are still being arrested for spliffs, yet vitamin stores in Barbados are importing and selling medical marijuana in the form of CBD oils and are not currently going before the courts. This is a concern for us as the People's Party. How can we be arresting persons for the consumption of marijuana on the one hand, a spliff, and have shelves with labels where Barbadians can go in and buy cannabis off a shelf in a vitamin store? So if we can't get it right at the front end in terms of control, I think we already can see that the scales are unbalanced, and we want them to be regulated and corrected. Mr. Chairman, prescriptions and recommendation, that language used in the bill. The use of the term prescription is something that we wanted to point consciousness and attention to. The use of the term prescription and the understanding surrounding its use in both the medical profession and the profession of pharmacy is accepted. We, in these professions, accept what a prescription means. In many conversations with both experienced pharmacists and doctors of many, many years, the use of the term recommended as it appears in the bill has no place. And we can elucidate on that a little further if you so desire. We also, as the People's Party for Development, looking at and examining the bill, look at the term visitors and the use of visitors and medication. Chair, you may or may not know that the prescriptions originating from doctors not registered in Barbados to practice in Barbados, currently cannot be filled in Barbados by pharmacists. You may or may not be aware of this. As these physicians would be practicing outside of the Barbadian jurisdiction. Some may even be quacks. And because we have not credentialed those persons writing those prescriptions by our local gatekeepers of medicine, it may result in injury. Once passed, people visiting Barbados should be seen by local doctors and a
You
prescription.
have 5 more minutes.
Yes, and a prescription written. The bill attempts to change precedent and good medical practice, and the word visitor should be eliminated from the bill. The term therapeutic facility. Under this Medical Cannabis Act, it is the intent of this government to have persons smoking cannabis. The reason for our position on this is that we are cognizant of the specificity of dosage forms listed or recommended for medical cannabis to be administered. These are tablets, liquid solutions and tinctures, sublingual drops, topical ointments and oils, and eye drops. Under the Pharmacy Act, Cap 372D, Section 31, No person shall, unless he is registered as a pharmacist or any other authorized seller of poisons.
Sorry to interrupt you, just one point of clarity. You're saying the PDP is opposed to smoking.
I never said that.
I just want to clarify.
What
What's the issue with smoking?
I never, that word smoking never came when motions have been at this desk, sir.
Okay.
I'll get to that though. Tablets, liquids, solutions, tinctures, sublingual drops, topical ointments and creams are believed to be the areas of focus for the medical cannabis bill. That's our understanding. I was about to say that under the Pharmacy Act, pharmacists, druggists, pharmaceutical chemists, pharmaceutists, dispensers, remember that word, and authorized sellers of poisons. And no person shall, unless he is registered as a pharmacist, display on any premises any sign titled, emblem, or representation that includes the description drugstore, drug dispensary, or pharmacy, or any other sign, titled, emblem, or representation that implies or from which the public may reasonably infer that those premises are registered as a pharmacy. We are saying this because we realize that there is a bit of ambiguity in the act, in the bill, regarding the definition dispensing, and it is in conflict with other aspects or other areas of our laws of Barbados. Had there be consultation with the bodies, we would have been able to dissipate that concern and be able to assist you in crafting the bill. Under this bill, the term therapeutic facility appears. It is an ambiguous term, and we are suggesting that serious consideration be given to the elimination of the term from the medical cannabis bill. The challenge with the term therapeutic facility is in direct conflict with the Pharmacy Act, Section 31, 1 and 2, whereby dispensing can only be executed by a pharmacist according to Barbados law. Now, I mentioned tablets, liquid solutions, sublingual, and so on, and eye drops. These do not require a special room or therapeutic facility to be administered. You take your Codiavan or your diabetic medication, and you take your medical cannabis for the pathology that the doctor has prescribed it for. We say then, for medical use, it is strongly advised that we as a party strongly advise against vaping, as the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, and the USA, and our local Ministry of Health are finding a direct correlation between vaping of oils, lung disease, and ultimate death. We must slow right down in the crafting of this bill. And I will now speak about smoking. We believe that smoking of marijuana, that is the burning of the plant, and we're not talking about religious use now, we're talking about for health benefits. And I do have my charts and so on that I can make available to the committee to show that the onset of action is very immediate and it goes out just as quickly. The burning of the plant should not be considered for medical cannabis, as the little suggested benefits do not outweigh the associated risks when we look at the science. And when we look at the science, we're seeing that there's really no place for the use of inhaled cannabis and so on.
So,
closing, Mr. Speaker.
So hold a sec. So
Yes, sir.
you're presenting on behalf of the PDP.
Yes.
Can you give me your stated position on behalf of the PDP with regard to smoking?
What I can give you the PDP's position in regards to the use of medical cannabis.
With regard to smoking, do you agree in inhalation of smoke or not?
What the PDP is looking at is the science.
Sir,
You want an answer to the
I want a
question?
simple answer to what you just presented.
Sir.
Is the PDP in support of smoking, or is the PDP against smoking?
Sir.
Mr. Chair, please stop harassing this witness. If you want smoke, go and smoke, but leave him alone and let him present. You know, you're being disruptive, and you're the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. To answer your question, we believe that the science must be considered. I brought all the clinical studies and so on. The science must be considered in regards to this particular area. The issue for us is not smoking. The issue is the science. The question is, what does the science say? We've gone out of the gates with alcohol, and we've lost control of that. We have on our cigarette boxes across Barbados, smoking causes lung cancer. We had a warning from the Minister of Health and the Ministry of Health, your colleague who was sitting next to you the other day, where they sent out an instruction saying, hey, look, no vaping because it is causing lung damage and causing, this is from the CDC, causing death and causing lung damage for medical cannabis. We're not speaking about recreational. We have to make a distinction because this is a medical cannabis bill and we must allow the science to speak to us. And Mr. Chair, I hope you're hearing what I'm saying about the PDP's position, which is that we believe that we must be guided because you said you want a simple answer, sir. When you're speaking about medicine and pharmacy, there are no simple answers. It is scientifically based, and there are contexts for use of certain delivery systems, I would call them, and so on. And just to answer
your time is up. Please wrap up.
Okay, I shall. So the reality is that I thought that the presentation was actually 15 minutes, and then there were questions and answers.
Mr. Chairman, with your leave, I had resolved not to add my voice at any time while this presentation was being made. But you can't have waited until the presenter had gotten into his stride, then to indicate to him there is a time limitation. Last time this committee met, there were those who presented for half an hour, 45 minutes, without hindrance. You can't wait until the presenter is in the middle of his presentation and say to him, you have 5 minutes more, without indicating to him at the outset, you have 15 minutes. And during the course of his presentation, having him subjected to several interruptions. It is not fair. Now, if you want me, just let me say it is not fair, Mr. Chairman.
So you may wrap up, and then we will have the question and answering segment.
I must agree with Mr. Adderley. The last time we held a session, the presenters were allowed to present fully without interruption, and I dare say a lot of his time was taken up with questioning that should have come at the end. In my opinion, he should be allowed to finish his presentation, which could only be a page or two, I see.
Through you, Chair. Mr. Gibson, I'd just like to point out one minor correction. You indicated that medical prescriptions from overseas could be used. That's incorrect. If you look at the definition of medical practitioner, it's only doctors registered in Barbados who can prescribe. So the bill does not provide for anyone to bring prescriptions from overseas. For them, that's exactly what it says. Everywhere, listen.
That's not what he said.
He said the definition of visitor should be removed because, don't bother. Look and tell me that I disrupt.
Okay, proceed to wrap up your presentation, and then we will get into question and answers.
And I think everybody here heard what I said, right? Right. That's okay. That's all right. That's all right. Might be misheard sometimes. That's allowed. You know, this is a gracious environment. You know, and I did say that that we do not honor. And I was very specific. We do not honor prescriptions coming from outside of Barbados. And I explained because the persons are not credentialed. And they could even be quacks writing prescriptions. I mentioned that was the language I used. Yes.
And is that exactly what you see reflected in the bill, the view you hold presently?
I will get to that at the end. Yes.
Because that is what the bill reflects.
Well, let me conclude. Yes. My last point is one of access to patient medical information by the Minister of Agriculture. Why should a Minister of Agriculture have access to patient notes for those on medical cannabis. There is no, somebody put this here, I'm so sorry, my apologies. There is no precedent for this. It is against the new Data Protection Act if permission is not given by the patient. Patient confidentiality is sacrosanct, and a rethink of that is necessary. We, the members of the People's Party for Democracy and Development, the PDP, and you, the current government, have an opportunity to tighten the legislative framework of this bill by considering the suggestions offered both in our written submission of September 19, 2019, and the submissions made today. I was going to address the matter of drug interactions and so on, but if that could come in the question and answer section, I'd be very happy to answer any questions related to drug interactions and medical cannabis. I'm available for questions from the panel.
I want to thank you sincerely for your presentation. The matter is available for discussion at the committee level before we take leave to go to the audience.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Mr. Gibson, I thank you for coming, presenting on behalf of your party. I'm still unclear, though, even though you said that you were seeking to clarify the issue. Because you said the PDP feels that Barbados will lose more than we will gain from the industry.
If, continue. What else did I say?
No, you continue. That's what I heard you say.
No, I said if the necessary controls, the bills and the regulations are not properly put in place. It's a complete statement. It wasn't, that's that first piece. The critical piece, the more critical piece, is that we believe that this bill should come not just as a bill, but regulations should be attached to the bill so that we can have, it could be better elucidated, we can better see what is coming and what is being unpacked as this bill evolves and as the regulations are written. Right now we are very blind as to a lot of what is going to be happening once we get across the water regarding this bill.
Yeah. But as the parliamentary system under which Barbados operates, you pass a bill is laid in Parliament, debated, and subsequent to that, regulations are made. So I mean, it wouldn't be, sir, that regulations would be before us now as well for debate. The regulations will come. So I'm still asking, sir, what is your party's position? Do you, on principle, agree that Barbados should have a regime of medical cannabis or not? That is a simple yes or no.
Mr. Chair,
I mean, sir, if your party disagrees, well, say so. Nothing wrong with that. You stand on your principle. So does the PDP agree in principle that there should be a regime of medical cannabis for people with disabilities, for instance, who have been calling on it for years? Or do you disagree? Simple question, sir.
That's your question.
Yes.
Before he answers, sir,
Mr. Chairman, I have asked a question. I mean,
Let us have order, please. A question was posed to the presenter. Senator Franklin can respond after the presenter has answered the question.
No, I don't want to present, sir. I just want to... The Minister of Home Affairs that just spoke misinformed...
I believe that we should have a response from the presenter.
Mr. Chair, I have a right to speak in here.
Senator Franklin, there's an order.
Yes, and I am on a point of order. The minister who just spoke misled the witness and the members here by saying, but the regulation must come after. That is nonsense. That is only one form. So if he comes in here and gives people misinformation, I cannot allow it to go out. The regulations in in many matters, Safety, Health and Work Act, they took years to get on the books. and they never ever passed the bill, and they waited. You had the regulations. Yes, the Public Service Act, the regulations were made the same day when the bill was passed. There are two different points. In this bill, we are going to have regulations that the minister will make subject to negative resolution, meaning that the minister will lay them in Parliament, and if the body says anything, there are law. So that is what he's speaking about, and you're misleading him about. So when I say I want to speak, I want to speak, because you are not going to bamboozle the public and give them the information that you want them to have. I want them to have the truth.
Let's move
And I will
along.
ask him a question when I'm finished.
Let's move along to the presenter, because the same thing you were saying now you could have said after the presenter had answered. Let's get the presenter respond to the question.
Mr. Franklin, thank you for the question, Minister. And Mr. Franklin, thank you for that clarification. And in your usual resonant voice and projection, you made it very clear that you do not have to have a bill being presented without regulations. There are many bills across this globe where, and my colleague, the clerk, will be able to tell you, he goes to all these international things, he will tell you there are situations where bills and regulations come together. And we're not here to hoodwink Barbados. We're here to say, look, this is such a sensitive area. There are a lot of Christians, there are a lot of mothers that are listening to this presentation today that want to know where we are going with this. And because of the haste, because of the rapidity of construing of this bill, the parents and the Christians are concerned that we need to understand where we are going. And so the regulations and the bill should come together. We believe that there's no challenge with having a concomitant presentation of these to the people of Barbados in the House.
Okay.
And you know what it speaks to, Chair, through you, is that there should be more time taken to unpack this very critical bill. To me, it is so rushed, it is so hasty. And in a couple of days, we want to put this back before the people of Barbados for passage. I'm answering the question, Chair.
The question before you is to be addressed.
Yes.
And I would respectfully ask that you address the question.
Could you restate the question, sir?
Mr. Gibson, for the third time, I asked you if your political party, in principle, sir, we're not getting into details now as to science and all of those airy-fairy things.
Oh, dear.
In principle, sir, whether your party agrees that Barbados should have a regime of medical cannabis for example, people with disabilities who have been calling for this. I'm fully aware, sir. I'm fully aware for years. Or whether you disagree, you don't agree that we should have this regime.
A point of order, sir. A point of order. This is nonsense. He is not here to be interrogated on what the People's Party wants or likes or dislikes. He is here in his capacity as a member of the party, put in the party's position. If you want to put the Barbados in the party's position, you put that. When the
party's position, he should be asked on the party's behalf. I see no
People's
point
Party
of order.
wants to make a
There is no point of order, please.
I will answer your question by saying this, and please put me to answer. The People's Party for Democracy and Development, the People's Party believes that for years there are medical benefits to be derived from medical cannabis. The science is showing. I have all these papers here. It also believes that there are persons that have benefited from different delivery systems and of the medical cannabis. We believe that, and I am aware of this, little babies with epilepsy who've had over 300 seizures. Sometimes it comes all the way down to 2 with the proper administration of sublingual drops and liquids and tinctures and so on. So we believe that, and we also believe that there is a natural endocannabinoid system that exists within the body that was made by our creator. And I'm going to finish answer. Please permit me to answer the question, sir.
But I've given you ample time to answer the question,
Sir,
which you had ample time to address and did not. There are other questions. There's a question from the leader of the opposition that I would like to entertain. I would want to ask that the microphones be turned off when another speaker is coming on so that we can hear them clearly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I hear the presenter clearly saying that his party believes, yes, in principle, the legitimizing of a position in Barbados where medical cannabis is available for such purposes under strictly controlled situations, regulations. I think I heard him saying further that this bill does not quite take us there, and that though the bill in principle may seek to address that problem, it is not properly presented, and the deficiencies and the loopholes constitute a basis for serious concern. I think I hear him saying that. I did not hear a reply from the Minister of Home Affairs on the issue of the need for this bill to be accompanied by regulations because of the vastness of its reach. It speaks to cultivation, speaks to transportation, it speaks to retail, it speaks to medical use, it speaks to importation, it speaks to exportation, it speaks to therapeutic facilities, whatever that means, a whole suite of things. And therefore, I think what the presenter was saying was that in this instance, we should ensure that the regulations to accompany this bill be available at the time for public scrutiny as the bill is being publicly examined as well. Senator Franklin took a position on that, contrary to the position presented by Minister of Home Affairs. My position is the same as Senator Franklin. From my experience and knowledge, bills can be accompanied at the same time or soon after by regulations. We believe that in this instance, they should be accompanied with the regulation. My question specifically to Mr. Gibson and his party, just for clarity, did I hear you say that the bill as it now stands does not present any clear indication as to what the economic benefits will be to Barbados? That's a yes or no, sir.
Be fair to the man now, Joe.
Honorable Leader,
be fair to the man. Don't tell the man how to ask a question. Let him answer himself.
It's a clear question. Are you saying that the bill as it currently stands does not make a clear statement or give any proper indication as to what, yes, as to what the economic benefits will be to Barbados?
Honorable Leader of Her Majesty's Opposition, you are exactly correct. That
and
is
are
exactly
you saying that the minister in introducing the bill in the Parliament of Barbados himself did not as well give any clear indication or proper indication as to what economic benefits will be to Barbados?
Leader of Her Majesty's Opposition, that is correct.
Did I hear you say that in your view and the view of your party, as the bill now stands, small farmers in Barbados at the end of the day will be disappointed in the outturn of the events because of the way this bill is structured?
That is pellucid, Leader of the Opposition.
Did I hear you express a concern that there will be severe foreign leakage around this industry because of the need for foreign investment and inability of indigenous investors properly to enter into this field?
It hurts my heart to say, but yes, Opposition Leader.
Did I hear you say that the regulations are extremely important and that we would like to have a look at them before this bill goes back to Parliament?
Very clear. That is exactly what I'm saying.
Did I hear you say that the use of the term recommendation in the context of this bill causes concerns for pharmacists and doctors and people in the medical profession?
You heard correctly, sir.
And it raises concerns about the potential danger to patients acting on the basis of recommendations.
Yes, you are absolutely correct, Leader of the Opposition.
Did I hear you express a caution on behalf of your party around the business of retailing with respect to this industry?
I did, sir.
Because of potential conflicts with how the pharmaceutical industry or the pharmacy industry in Barbados now operates.
It's regulated, yes, sir.
And is regulated.
Yes.
Did I hear you raise concerns about the ambiguity around the matter of therapeutic facility? Is your party concerned that we may be talking about smoking shops or vape shops?
You are correct.
And did I hear you speak with reference specifically to the dangers of vaping?
You heard me
Underlining the fact, underscoring the fact that the Center for Disease Control in the States, and not without significance, our own Ministry of Health here has issued recent warnings with respect to this.
You heard me correctly.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, I believe the leader of the opposition needs to see the transcript because either he wasn't listening or he was. Why are we repeating everything that he said?
Because I need clarity, Mr. Chairman.
From your own member?
From my own member.
Wait until the transcript comes.
I need clarity from the presenter, Mr. Chairman. You want to rule me out of order, go right ahead.
We know what you're doing.
I have
We
one
know
more
exactly what you're
to rule
doing.
me out of order, Mr. Chairman, go right ahead. I'm asking for clarity from the presenter.
In court you would have been.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm all finished.
You were addressing the chair, presenter. Please address the chair.
I'm very thankful of the consciousness of the leader of the opposition in respect to the issues that were raised, and I'm very happy that we are getting a second coat of paint in terms of reiterating the importance.
Yours didn't cover the surface.
Well, you know, it's always good to have a couple coats of paint sometimes, sir. Good thing.
And Mr.
You have further
Mr.
questions?
Chair, yeah, I was not finished, and the interruption from the Attorney General on the other side has caused...
You may proceed.
I want to go back over what I have been asking you.
I'm not going to allow you to go back what you were asking.
But Mr. Chairman, I am seeking clarity, and it is my right so to do.
No.
Mr. Chairman, this is
I am
possible.
seeking repetition in an effort to obtain clarity for myself with
It
respect to
wasn't
this
clear the
presentation.
first time he said it.
The interruptions are causing a certain degree of confusion, Mr. Chair.
You can even hear what your own member said. So I'm not surprised that you're confused.
Precisely so, Mr. Chair. That is why I'm asking for clarification, as is my right to do.
Your questions were asked and answered. Please proceed with your further questions.
I have one last question for you. And you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. A simple yes or no. Having stated that the bill does not in any way present any clear or proper indication of the economic benefits to be derived from this industry to this country, having expressed the concern that there will be significant leakage of foreign exchange because of the foreign investment component potentially in this industry and the lack of indigenous investment to really participate here to the extent that might be desirable, having expressed the concern that small farmers in Barbados may find themselves to have been deluded and end up disappointed because benefits will not redound to them as they might to those who among us have money and those who from Canada are willing to invest in this industry. Having expressed the view that we need to look at these regulations, or the regulations coming with this bill, because the devil will very well be in the details. As a medical professional, having expressed the view that the use of the term recommendation is the bill is inappropriate, and having given us a serious caution around the matter of potential retailing under the licenses to be issued in this, expressing as well concern about the use of therapeutic facilities for undesirable activities like smoking and vaping, bearing in mind that our own Ministry of Health has just issued a warning on this. Being a medical professional and aware of the whole notion of patient-doctor confidentiality and the recent passage through the Parliament of Barbados of the Data Protection Bill, is it your position that what you have said here in those terms I just represented reflects the view of the PDP? Thank you.
I want to thank Leader Opposition for his presentation.
The order that I have is the Honorable Attorney General, followed by Honorable Adrian Ford, then Senator Rudolph Greenwich.
No, but he is given it.
Okay.
The AG is given it.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Gibson, you heard very clearly Mr. Avili repeat almost everything which you've said.
Having said he didn't hear it.
Yeah, that there be very little economic benefit accruing to Barbadians. He also mentioned, and you mentioned, the whole question that there would be some foreign exchange leakage and that there would be no benefit to small farmers. But the question I want to ask you, Mr. Gibson, is this. What is the basis for your coming to this conclusion? Is this just your sheer opinion, or is it backed by some kind of research, some proof? Tell us how you arrived. Direct me where I could find whatever you referred to come to the conclusion.
Senator, the People's Party for Democracy and Development has facts and data for other jurisdictions. Sorry. We do have facts and data for, and if you look at my presentation, you would see that we have data for St. Vincent. We know the pricing of...
You may use this opportunity to cite them, and so as to refresh everybody.
The St. Vincent medical cannabis bill, in terms of the pricing for the cannabis, the poundage of cannabis. We looked at what's happening in the Canadian context and so on. But the point I was making, sir, is that to date, we are unclear and no one has presented any facts or data for Barbados. Facts and data for
But is that in
Barbados.
the St. Vincent and Grenadines legislation?
What is critical is this.
The question is it in the legislation?
What is in legislation?
The poundage and economic value.
The poundage and the economic value are not in the legislation.
Thank you.
However, what is of import is that there are, and this is the context. Should I continue, sir, or are you going to?
You may continue, but what I want is absolute clarity with the public, because if we seek to mislead the public, neither your party
You're seeking to mislead
nor
the
the
public,
people
Chair?
of Barbados will benefit from what is being presented.
Right.
The whole objective here is to present to the public your views on the bill so that there can be improvement. The fact that you are alluding to economic value and poundage and citing another jurisdiction,
Yes.
where you have now confirmed that it is not in the legislation, would mean that you have deliberately misled this hearing.
Absolutely not, sir. What I did do as part of the laser pointing to the bill is to bring a broader consideration and to the fact that, can I finish, sir? Can I finish? Can I finish my point, or shall I stop
I
here?
believe you answered. You can.
No,
you
I
can,
didn't answer.
Hold on. You can continue, but let us be clear that we are addressing the bill, okay? And you cannot impute things that are not there, because as chair, I have a responsibility for bringing clarity to the public, and I'm saying to you that you willfully know that the language you use was designed to mislead the public, and you shouldn't do that.
Why are we here, sir? We're here to
We are
discuss
here
the bill.
to discuss the bill.
Correct? We're here to let Barbadians understand what goes into creating a bill. Correct, sir? And we also want to make sure that when we are talking to the Barbadian public about this bill, that the matters of finance, economics, accounting are all considered as a part of even this. We should even scrap this bill if it makes no economic sense. If it makes no economic sense, Mr. Chair, the bill should be scrapped.
I am sorry that I have to interrupt you again.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. That's your
You
right, sir.
cannot ask for the bill to be scrapped when you just confirmed that other jurisdictions did not do that.
No, why?
And you're asking that we include poundage and economic value in the bill when you have already confirmed that other jurisdictions that you referenced did not do so. So let us move along, please.
Can I make my
and there are other questions that are coming. We have to move along. You have confirmed that other jurisdictions did not do that.
I want to also confirm, sir, that we as Barbadians need to know if any effort have been made to make sure that this is indeed a viable industry for this country at this time, and that we want to know that people are conscious of the numbers associated with the medical cannabis industry. You have not brought that to the people of Barbados. You, as a matter of fact, I am asking you, sir, what is the economic benefit, sir, if you would permit me to ask you, to this country of the medical cannabis bill? It did not come out in your parliamentary presentation, sir. And I just thought that maybe we may not need to go this road at all if it will add no economic benefit to the people of Barbados, or only to a few Barbadians. Barbadians want to know. Barbadians want to know.
Let's take Honorable Adrian Ford.
Barbadians want to know.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, sir. Mr. Gibson, our training would allow certainly a meeting in the minds as it relates to medical marijuana. But the separation comes when you suggested that persons who are selling marijuana products, as you know it, are allegedly selling marijuana products in shops and malls and what's not. You had said or suggested that those persons were allowed to do it without being charged, and you also alluded to the fact that persons from the Rastafarian Committee and other areas who smoke, you refer to as a spliff, may end up before the lower courts. I know you know just as good as me that under our
Can you please mute all phones?
Under our Drug Abuse Act, that there's certain provisions where inspectors are supposed to be regulating those institutions to ensure that something as simple as, and we had situations over the years where codeine latest found itself in shops, in restaurants, in gas stations. We had a situation with sildenafil, which is also a generic form of Viagra, found itself in other environment. We had a situation where betazone cream had to be taken off shelves. So I'm saying this is not abnormal as it relates to the way how it is policed. I'm saying that there are laws there are mechanisms under our act, under our Forensic and Drug Abuse Act, to ensure that that area is policed. I would encourage now that I certainly have the attention of the inspectorate, that to go out there and do their due diligence, because I don't want it to suggest that there's one set of rules certainly for the Jews and one for the Gentiles. That is not certainly the situation, because there are laws in place, and we are encouraging that those institutions or those places that are alleged to have medical marijuana, until it becomes law, that the inspectors do their work, you know? I'm just making sure that goes out there.
Minister Ford, I appreciate your learned contribution, and my colleague, and I thank you for the contribution you're making to this JSC. You are correct that there are persons called drug inspectors that fall under the Ministry of Health, which their remit is to go into any environment where there's API, active pharmaceutical ingredient, and to do an inspection, whether doctor's office or pharmacy or wherever, and they have the powers to confiscate. And so I know that, and in fairness to our Minister of Health, and he's a good gentleman, he has stated categorically that he will not allow the public to be affected by people selling CDB oils, and they may just be olive oil or cannabinol oil or something that you don't have a clue what it is being sold on shelves, unregulated. And he did say that he does not want to have those oils in and around Barbados under his watch, because he believes it is a public health issue. And to his credit, and because they regulate the space, and the CMO regulates that space. And I know even though we have a marijuana cannabis bill, that the Minister of Health still has ultimate authority over the halting or cancellation of certain activities, even above and beyond the Minister of Agriculture, according to the laws of Barbados. And so I do agree with you that the Drug Inspectorate needs to go and be given authorization, as the Minister suggested, and sweep all those products off the shelves until we have, they talk about before Christ and after Christ. Well, after, we want to make sure that when the bill does pass, that the regulations will handle that. But for right now, they are illegal. And people should not be arrested for spliffs and not be arrested for illegal import of medical CDB oils, etc. So thank you, Minister, for your valuable...
We have Senator Franklin. Sorry, Dr. Brown, then Senator Franklin.
No, go ahead. I'll give that to you.
Thank you, Chair. I, like Mr. Gibson, I'm a bit concerned about the mention of the therapeutic facility in the bill. I would like to seek clarification. Right now, this is causing some dis-ease among the medical community as
Absolutely.
well as the drug service and the pharmacy council. I would just like some clear clarification. What is it and what would it be used for? That's among two more questions.
If I might, I think that on this occasion, the questions are to be directed to Mr. Gibson. When the committee is in closed session, members are free to engage each other on such matters.
Mr. Gibson, do you know the answer?
I am just as clueless regarding the term therapeutic facility as the rest of all the doctors in Barbados and all the pharmacists in Barbados as to the use of that term. It has no place in medicine. It has no place in pharmacy. It has no place. As a matter of fact, based on our laws, and I've walked with them, they're all here, there is no place for the word medical facility, and it is in contravention of other standard pillars established in law in Barbados regarding dispensing and consumption of pharmaceuticals. As I said, Codiavan, your diabetic medication, you take your liquid, you take your drops under your tongue, you take your tablets for. There's no need for a facility. Why would you need a therapeutic facility? It makes no sense. Are you going to be smoking marijuana in such an environment? As we know that smoking is bad for your health, causes lung cancer. Are we going to be vaping? We know that our MOH has instructed that vaping not be practiced in Barbados. So it should not even, vaping cannot come on the table for Barbadians' health because it is a public health issue as stated by the Chief Medical Officer of Barbados. So which other authority has the authority to grant authority for vaping and for therapeutic facilities? There's none. There are none.
Which brings me back to the question I asked earlier. What is your position on smoking? Because if we are going to improve the legislation, you must give me a position.
Yes.
What is your position on smoking?
It is in
and
my
the
written-
position of the PDP?
Yes. It is in our written submission, and it is that at this time, the science as relates to medical cannabis, we're not speaking about religious practice or religious use. We want to make sure that there's a very clear distinction and that we are laser pointing on medical cannabis.
Point of
And sorry.
privilege.
I would want for the presenter to finish answer the question.
But Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, I need to understand what the question is. I'm a member of the committee.
The question is whether or not the PDP is opposed to smoking.
This is smoking generally? Or
Cigarettes, yes, we're against smoking cigarettes.
Smoking of cannabis under medicinal
Thank
regime.
you.
Yes, we are against, we believe that Barbadian health is very important. The PDP believes that Barbadian health is very important. The Surgeon Generals across the globe are warning against the inhalation because of the carcinogens associated with different things. And it causes injury to lung, and our tertiary healthcare costs as a result is being escalated to a level that we have no control over. It damages your vascular system, your arteries. Smoking actually has very deleterious effects on the body.
Thank you for the clarity. Senator Franklin.
Smoking period, not just marijuana. He's speaking smoking period is a problem.
I thank you for your clarity.
Yes.
Senator Franklin.
Sorry, I hadn't finished my final comment or question.
Go ahead.
The truth is, this is beginning to look like a size meeting now, and my interest really is with the public. Mr. Gibson, you brought up I don't know if you want to call it curiosity. You wanted to know basically the value of this proposed medicinal marijuana industry. I think it would be misleading to not discuss it. In other words, I know several members of the Rastafarian community are here with the expectation. Speaking to some of them, I know they're excited about it, and they're here really to know how are they investing in it. And I tend to agree with you that at some point we need to know the value of the medicinal marijuana to the country and to individuals and to small farmers, if the buy-in is worth it. I think these are discussions at the end of the day we need to have. So I must agree with the questioning on your end.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. I agree totally that if you are in a business and your COG, your cost of goods, are higher than what you're bringing in, that business will fail. And if we as a government, a responsible government, if you as a government have not done the numbers and run the numbers to see if your cost of goods exceed the inputs that would come from the revenue associated with cannabis, I think that you're failing in your duty to serve this country in a proper manner. And I really believe that somebody should resign if that's the case. If we are going into this and don't know that we are going to lose money, somebody should go home. The people of Barbados want to earn money. We're not here to joke around. We are in serious economic times. And if you're saying that this is going to bring money for Barbados, tell the people of Barbados what money is going to bring, and that's all we're asking for. The People's Party for Democracy are asking this question. Somebody needs to answer that question. Are we going to waste money? We already have an authority registered with CAIPO. We already have, do we have staff working for them? We don't know. But are we investing in something that we have not count the cost for? We have to count the cost as a thing. Tourism is losing money. Sugar is losing money. Are we going to engage in another industry that would cause us to lose more money just so that a few could benefit? The wealth needs to be spread across among Barbadians, and Barbadians are concerned that they're unsure as to where we're going. Where are we going? Could somebody give us the numbers, please? Could somebody are we listening to are we even listening to the members that work at the Ministry of Agriculture? Are we listening to their voices and what they're recommending to us? Because I'm sure that if we're listening to them, they'll tell you to slow down. I'm sure that somebody...
Mr. Gibson, you answered the question. I have other people who have questions. Let me suggest to you that when a question is asked, you answer the question and let us get on with the others. We have other presentations to take. I am giving you the liberty of responding. I believe that out of courtesy to everybody else, that you should acknowledge that there are other presentations and let questions be asked rather than prolong and prolong.
Yes, sir. Right? I agree, sir.
Thank you, Chair.
You finish?
I'm done.
Senator Franklin.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Gibson, you are a pharmacist by profession. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you wanted to speak to the drug interaction with the medicinal cannabis and stuff. I want you to expand on that because you didn't get the opportunity in the presentation. But don't start yet, because I want to speak to two other things, and then you can answer all when I finish, because I don't intend to. We were speaking, Dr. Brown, yourself, and everybody else wondering what this therapeutic facility is. And to my mind, it can be a container, the back of a truck, anything. This is what the legislation suggests. It says therapeutic facility means a premises granted a retail distributor license to sell, dispense, or provide medical cannabis, and to provide facilities and other medicinal or therapeutic requirements to allow patients who purchase prescribed or recommended medical cannabis to use. So it is a facility that you can use, that you can use your drugs on the spot. And then it says premises. Premises in the definition of the legislation says any building or land as well as any vehicle. So you can go back of a ZR. As far as this legislation is concerned, your motor car, anything. So are you suggesting that this definition should be tightened up or eliminated altogether? And then you spoke also of visitor. Visitor has a particular meaning. It says the visitor means a person who is a patient, is not a resident of Barbados, and is in possession of a prescription or written recommendation from a medical practitioner in respect of medical cannabis. Are you suggesting that that is misleading because you can only have a prescription from a medical practitioner registered in Barbados, and then you don't like a visitor. Visitors already, when they come to Barbados and they get sick, they go to the doctors and they get prescriptions. Why is it, to your mind, why is it necessary to specify a visitor with a prescription in this legislation? So the 3 points: drug interaction, the container for smoking marijuana, the back of somebody peeling, and the definition of visitor. Could you address them first, please?
Certainly. As my colleague reiterated, visitors are supposed to come here and get a doctor's prescription written. The way how the bill has it, they say if someone comes here with a prescription. Now, interpretation of law is something that lawyers do. I don't. Interpretation of prescriptions is something that we do as pharmacists. And if someone comes in with a prescription, a recipe for medical cannabis, the way it's written in the bill is very ambiguous. Don't say no. You're shaking your head saying no. Okay. I just want to make sure you say it's ambiguous. Because when you, and I'm looking at it through the eyes of the pharmaceutical profession. If somebody comes into Barbados with a prescription, this is almost suggesting, the law is almost suggesting that if you have a prescription, whether the prescription has been filled or not filled, that you can honor that prescription here in this country. That's what is being purported through this bill. And I'm just telling you what is being seen, interpretation. 2, when a person walks into a pharmacy, as opposed to a therapeutic facility, and that person is on valproic acid, which is for epilepsy, or on dilantin, which is for epilepsy, both of which, one stimulates the liver, one slows it down. If you do not have a patient profile in front of you, and any person is just giving out medical cannabis in a therapeutic facility, as opposed to a pharmacist, that person is not trained in terms of, we do 4.5 years of pharmacognosy, which is study of plants, pharmacology, pharmacokinetics, and so on. So when a prescription comes before you and you're on dilantin and valproic acid, and you see a prescription come in from a medical doctor regarding your medication, a pharmacist knows what to do with that. He says you're on valproic acid, you're on a dose of 25 milligrams, and it means that we have to reduce this dosage so that you don't have breakthrough epileptic episodes. If you are on dilantin and you come in with a CDB prescription, it means that that dosage will be reduced because the liver enzyme will metabolize that drug a lot faster, and therefore you will also have breakthrough episodes of epilepsy. And so, because of the seriousness of the science and not the simplicity, Mr. Chair, we are saying that it is important. I'm answering the question for the honourable senator.
Please answer the question. The question was very precise, and I believe that you can answer the question without going into all of what you've presented before.
Oh, you don't want examples, Minister?
No, I want you to answer the question, and we have other presentations to take. I'm sure you can answer the question.
Minister, what I'm saying is so important, sir. Sir, what I'm saying is so important. If you understand the importance...
I'm only saying because your colleagues don't want me to rob you out of time.
Yes, but
I'm only saying that we can take better advantage of the time allocated by you answering the question in a very succinct way so that we can get other questions being posed to you. That's all I'm saying.
But Minister, you're treating me like, you're treating this bill, you're rushing me. You're rushing it. But the point being, in closing, sir, I want to just...
I'm cognizant that I have other presenters and a public.
Yes.
And I think in all fairness to them, all right, we still need to do the right thing, okay? And I cannot afford you the liberty of taking advantage of time when you know very well, given your training, that you can get straight to the answer. And we want other presentations.
Okay, I'll just say one line. Medical cannabis can kill people if there are other medications and you do not know how to manage that patient properly. A therapeutic facility does not afford that, sir.
Questions? Right. Senator Dr. Crystal Haynes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to ask Mr. Gibson a question. You had said earlier, I believe, that you had a concern about the minister having access to patients' information. I'm a medical practitioner, and confidentiality is one of the fundamental ethical tenets of my profession. Clause 27.2 directly speaks to, I believe, what you were making reference to. 27.2. And further to that, in the explanatory memorandum at the end of the bill, basically it goes into detail about the authority, not the minister, having the ability to request information for the purpose of statistical purposes. So earlier on in your presentation, you had made a reference to the fact that basically there was a dearth of research and science to back up some of this. When this bill is passed, hopefully, what the authority is also seeking to do alongside the industry side of it is to do the research and the necessary testing and so on that will be able to fortify what we are doing. But one thing I wanted to draw to your attention specifically in Clause 27.2 was the fact that it spoke to an anonymization of patient information, where a record would have to be prepared by a managing doctor. But I don't want the public to think that Minister Ware or any other future Minister of Agriculture will be able to see, well, Crystal Haynes is using cannabis for her seizures. Oh, okay. I'll read the patient's any identifying information, name, address, national ID number, any possible identifiers are excluded from that. Right? So all of that is excluded, and I just wanted to make sure that it was lucidly clear that there will be anonymization of any information that will be submitted to the authority, and it wasn't a case where patients had to be concerned that their business would end up out in the road. That was just one comment that I wanted to make with regards to your presentation. And once again, in your response to Senator Franklin's questioning, you want because you raised a question about visitors and the definition of visitors and visitors bearing a prescription. Clause 25, Part 1 speaks specifically to the fact that the prescription must be issued by a medical practitioner. And medical practitioner has a specific definition in this draft bill, which is that the specific doctor who put the prescription in that visitor's hand must be registered under the Medical Profession Act 2011, so that there's no confusion out there that a visitor entering Barbados bearing a prescription from somebody from God knows where, could be a quack or whatever, as you had said, that will not be the case. These have to be fully registered medical practitioners in Barbados who are appearing every year. We have to pay fees, and we are listed on the what do you call it? The National Gazette, and so on. So it's not a case where any quack, as you had said, that is giving a prescription or bringing something in from outside will be able to do that. I think that just to offer a little clarity on those two things, the anonymization of patient information as it deals with reporting, as well as the issue that you keep raising with concern about visitors filling prescriptions.
I would like you to clarify something for me, Senator Haynes, because Section 25 says a person or a visitor. Isn't the visitor a person? So why you put both? So it suggests confusion on the part of, if you are a person coming to Barbados, you're a visitor, but you're still a person. So why you put visitor and person in the same sentence? A person or visitor shall. Right? So that is the confusion that Mr. Gibson is speaking to. All you have to say is a person. Because whether you're visiting or you live here, you are still a person. So that is the confusion that Mr. Gibson is worried about. And that is what I saw when I look at the bill myself. Why visitor?
The Attorney General and then the Leader of the Opposition. Senator Haynes, I'm assuming that you're finished.
Just going to be very brief. Mr. Gibson, I get the feeling from your last substantive contribution that you were concerned about what happens in a therapeutic facility. And I think you basically were drawing reference to the role of a pharmacist in that context. Yes?
I was saying I don't know what a therapeutic facility is.
Fine. The therapeutic facility is defined.
It's a container, a house, anything.
Therapeutic facility is designed, Mr. Gibson, is defined. And if you will look at section 29, well, it's really clause 29 because it's still a bill. And you don't have to look at it now, but clause 29 does make it quite clear that whatever is dispensed, any medicinal cannabis being dispensed in a therapeutic facility has to be done under the supervision or by a pharmacist. And I'm wondering if that is a level of control that satisfies your concern. Will you please allow Mr. Gibson to answer? I'm not directing any question to Mr. Franklin.
I'm sorry that I interrupted you.
You didn't interrupt me, sir. You just tried to answer the question for the individual who is really the pharmacist. But we understand here, though, it is you, Mr. Adley, and Mr. Gibson.
I am sorry.
And you can put all three of you to sit down there.
Keep on, Brad. You don't accept an apology anymore?
Even need to raise.
In response to your question, AG Marshall, Attorney General Marshall, the reality is that if the word therapeutic facility is eliminated from this bill, even though defined, even if it is eliminated from this bill, it would not compromise the bill in any way. As a matter of fact, it will make it a stronger document in our opinion, from the standpoint that there's no place for that language, therapeutic facility, in respect to the to dispensing of drugs. There's no place for it. I've spoken to physicians high and low. I walked out of a meeting the other with 65 doctors, and they asked the question, what is this for therapeutic facility? And by the way, why are we talking about recommending medical cannabis? We don't recommend, we prescribe. You have a dose, a strength,
straying a little bit, Mr. Gibson.
No. Let's take away a little bit, but let me come back to it. The fact of the matter is that there is no place for the word therapeutic facility in the practice. And you need to hear this. If you are, one of the first lines I had in my question is this Joint Select Committee willing to consider the contributions made by the professionals sitting before you? That's the first question I had. Because if you are, you would certainly consider seriously what I'm saying.
Mr. Gibson, I'm not the chairman, but
yes,
I would.
Yes,
I think we are operating on the basis of mutual respect.
Yes, absolutely, sir.
And there's a statutory basis for what we're doing.
Yes.
And there's a reason you've been invited to present. If you harbor any notion at all that your comments will not be considered, then a priori you have arrived at the place where it says that you've come here to waste your time, and I don't think you would have come here to waste your time.
Well, I'm so happy to hear you say that, Mr. Marshall. I'm very happy to hear you say that, because the reality is that we're saying that...
I have no other question for Mr. Gibson.
Yeah. The therapeutic facility...
Mr.
Just
Gibson,
answer the question.
Mr. Gibson, you were given a chance to answer the question.
I'm about to answer, sir.
Mr. Gibson?
Yes.
Are there any other questions from the committee? Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was looking at section 29. I don't see mention of therapeutic facility. I see no mention of section. in Section 29 of therapeutic facility. And that was my question. Earlier, Dr. Brown asked a question about that. What do we mean by therapeutic facility? And the advice given to you, which I suppose you heard, Mr. Chairman, by the Attorney General, is let's not deal with that now, we deal with that in committee. My very strong view, Mr. Chairman, is that the public is here because they have a public interest. And that the committee and the Parliament of Barbados would have made this exercise available to the public view and public scrutiny because they recognize the importance of that public interest. Now, dare I say that those who turned up here today, all of them did not come to appear before you and make a submission. They came out of an interest in what is happening to have a better understanding of what the Parliament...
I'm sorry, Mr. Adley, did you say that you don't see a reference to therapeutic facility in 29?
No.
I'm just asking, is that what you said?
Well, I
mishear you?
am long past that. The substantive point I'm trying to make is this, that I do not...
Mr. Adley, are you going to answer the question?
I didn't see it.
Chair, sorry, I don't know what I was supposed to do here, but, yeah.
You see it? Do you see it? This is the 29th. You see, there's been so many iterations of this bill because the government itself is confused as to what it wants. I am looking at a bill given to me on the 29th, which I thought to be the last bill given. Is this the last bill given?
Mr. Chair, if I may help, there were various iterations of the bill as suggested by the Leader of the Opposition, but the bill that is before Parliament, which is the bill dated the 29th of August. And
well,
that
this,
was also given to Mr.
This is 29th of August.
Mr. Adley was given the one this week?
This is a bill that I was given. It still carries the note. Ignore me if you want, but I will speak. It does not say anything about therapeutic facility. That, however, is not my substantive or most substantial point. Dr. Brown asked the question, what is a therapeutic facility? Was intended by that. The AG advised the chair, let's not deal with that. We deal with that in committee in private. The public is not here as a prop to any government exercise. The public is here invited by the Parliament of Barbados because they have an interest in these matters. And if that question is raised as a matter of importance, especially by a member of the committee, it ought to be answered. What do we mean and intend by a therapeutic facility? Is it a facility for smoking and vaping, that which is recommended, as opposed to something which is prescribed and delivered through the pharmacy system?
I think that Section 29 clearly answers that question. I wish my learned friend would look at Section 29 because Section 29 says what happens in a facility and insists and stipulates that it must be by way of prescription.
Mr. Chair, I am sure you do not want me to take the time to read Section 29
Indeed,
as I have it here in the bill.
The clerk has already said that the correct and current version has been circulated to you. So we could spend the next hour debating that.
Mr. Chairman, the clerk has said that, but I'm saying to you, the bill that was circulated to me is here in my hand. I spoke with reference to this on the floor of Parliament and asked that the government defer passage of this bill so that it could go out to public scrutiny. And I suppose primarily that is why we are here today. Had I not raised that, this would have been passed in Parliament, certainly in the lower house ever since. The public has an opportunity to input this because on the floor of Parliament, based on this bill that I have in my hand, I ask that we should defer debate on this till the public can make its input. This is a bill that I was given, the one I have.
Are there any further questions or comments?
Comment, sir. Sir,
Hold on. Honorable Adrian Ford wanted to speak first.
I just wanted certainly concur with my colleague, Senator Haynes, when she said that a prescription for the purposes, and I don't want us to separate what happens normally with what is happening with medical marijuana. A prescription that is written, even if it is for Panadol from overseas, is not recognized here in Barbados unless it is written But as my elected friend, Dr. Haynes, suggested, unless it's written by a medical practitioner who is registered in Barbados. So I don't want us to treat cannabis any different from any other drug. Unless it's written and prescribed by a doctor in Barbados, the prescription is not valid. So I just wanted to reiterate that.
Thank you for the clarification. Are there any other questions for the presenter?
You said all comments, yes, no, and I say yes. Sir, I understand Reverend Adley's confusion because this bill, we had 3 bills sent to us in less than 2 weeks. And so I discarded all the others that I had, and I right now I am on Parliament's website looking at the bill that, the final, if this is it. Because we had 3 and we sat down, we went through them. And then we ignore that bill, we have another one coming. And then when we did that, we ignore that, but we have another one coming. Suggest to me that this is a rush process and nobody knew what the end product was other than to get marijuana out there among the people. Sir, my question is, and I will continue to ask because nobody seems to answer, this therapeutic facility is, for all intents and purposes, a place where you can use your medication. Your marijuana medication. And according to the definition in the Act, it can be a container, it could be a car, it could be anything. And I think that we need to have clarity on that because it says a vehicle. Premise means a vehicle. So when I say, look at the definition of premise. Premise, look at premise. Don't show me this one, I know this one. I know it by heart now. Look at the definition of premises, and you will see that it says that it can be a vehicle. So you can have a Zara going on the road with smoke coming through the top, and fellas, pursue his license issued by the Ministry of Finance, and say, look, this is a therapeutic facility, and go along smoking. That is what we are talking about. This act should, this bill should go back to the drawing board, get the consultation that Mr. Gibson and others are talking about before we rush this thing to our detriment. That is my final say, Mr. Gibson here.
No, just correct. Therapeutic facility means a facility or premise granted by a retail distributor license. A ZR may not be granted a distributor license. The place has to be granted a license, which means that it will have fall under certain requirements. It will meet certain standards. There will be certain expectations from that facility.
And that will be in the regulations.
And that will be regulations.
And we don't see the regulations. So it can be the back of somebody's
Mr. Chairman,
van. He's right.
Mr. Chairman, I do not want to be corrected wrongly. I wanted to stop speaking, but Mr. Ford,
The Honorable Adrian Ford.
The Honorable Adrian Ford miscorrected me then, because what I am saying, it says the therapeutic facility is a premise. It means premises granted a retail distributor license. One, yes. But then the bill, also defines premises, and it says it means any land or building as well as any vehicle
granted a facility.
Yeah, on the person, I could park my vehicle, be a container.
But you have to be granted a license first.
It could be a container in the back of a house. It could be a house. It could be a shed. Dominoes.
Can we have order, please?
That is what I am saying.
Senator Franklin.
Yes, sir.
Can we have order, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And I'm saying that this is too convoluted. It does not make sense. I can go and park my vehicle. But it says here a premises can.
Granted a license first. But your vehicle is granted a license based on the distribution.
Okay, the comment by Senator Franklin is noted. Let us ask leave of the presenter at this point in time. I want to thank you for your presentation. We have had very lengthy and muscular discussion on it. And I will thank you and ask that you leave the chair so we can take another presentation.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Committee.
Given the length of the presentation, we would take a 10 minutes break and reconvene at 10 after noon.
Invite people to help themselves.
And you're invited to refreshment. Members of the public as well.